have legitimate concerns at Devontae Adams as a whole, even with Minshew at quarterback, because
you got concerned about his hole? Get that man some Prep H?
Yeah, get him some. We're talking about him on a hole.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy Week 1 Rankings. By position. You want to go by position and you don't care about running backs and only quarterbacks? Hit the time codes. They're down in the description. Also, down in the description right now, my Week 1 rankings. And Jake, what do I always tell people? That these are not the final rankings because stuff is going to change.
Stuff is going to change, especially not only is the Week 1 rankings not final when we normally have done this on Tuesdays. It's not final because it's Thursday, the week before the season of Tuesday even happens.
That is correct. So this year, Jake and I are not going to be doing our weekly ranks debate show. We're going to be doing a weekly wrap-up, a look ahead, Monday Night Football, power rankings on Monday afternoons. If you're looking for that, I will be having a short video discussing my rankings later on in the week, where I'll highlight guys that I'm higher on and lower on instead of talking about every single player every single week. You want projections? Go use Run the Sims. That makes things way easier on you and on me. But if you want the rankings list this year, you can find the Week 1 rankings down in the description right now, or if you are subbed to the free Mayo Media newsletter on Substack, that's where they're gonna come. I'll probably send them out on probably Wednesday evening or Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening is when I'm gonna send those out. So go subscribe to that for free and you'll get them sent right to you. You can check back and you'll have all the updates in there. This is year 11, Jake. I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited that the season's actually here, and that I'm kind of excited that this week is almost when we're recording this week is almost over, and the preseason adjustments and projections adjustments and 8 billion shows, which I'm sure you've done as well, because everybody wants to get that last one in. I'm actually, weirdly enough, I know we're not going to sleep until February. I'm kind of excited to get the season going for a change.
Yeah, we need to get the ball rolling. So here's what you all need to do to support this show and to support yourself. I twisted the arm of old Underdog Fantasy, and they gave me, Jake, $25,000 in Underdog credits to give away to people. $25,000. So what I've done is created a season-long pick'em pool. So if you don't have an Underdog account, rectify that right now. Use code Mayo and get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. There's free money right there. Then hit the description. There's a Google form down there right now, Jake. And you put in your email, you put in your Underdog handle. So if you already have an Underdog handle, just go do it right now. There's going to be weekly prizes for the Pick'em contests, and there's going to be a season-long prize of whoever has the best percentage of picking the fantasy props on Underdog. First place is going to be $5,000, $3,000 for second, $2,000 for third and fourth, all the way down. The top 10 finishers are all going to win cash on top of what you're going to earn anyway. This is all bonus money. So everything that you just need to do is go put your Underdog handle down in that Google form, and you are off to the races. Are you playing? Because I am.
It's free money, Pat. So, or a chance for free money. Yes.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It doesn't matter what your entries are in Pick'em every single week. You can play, you need 180 picks over the 180 weeks. They don't have to come 10 a week. You can play 180 in 1 week and just call it a week. But you can play like 50-cent entries. You can play $1 entries all season long, and you can win on those as well. So I'm actually really excited for this contest. If a ton of people support it, we're going to get even more money for next year. So if you're on the fence, go use code Mayo right now. Play in this league, and hopefully I'll have like $100K to give away next year.
That'd be nice. I'm actually going to treat, at least my strategy, I'm going to treat it a little bit like Survivor. It's like only do the things we definitively know towards the season until we get some more information before I start going like outside the box of like, oh yes, Javonte Williams, 75 yards this week. Yeah, it might not be the best call in week 1.
No, maybe not. But there is an easy call for week 1. Now, you can't use Scorchers or promos as a part of the league, but there is a Travis Kelce free square for Thursday Night Football right now on Underdog. It's 0.5 receptions. If he catches one pass, you win. So go use code Mayo, get your bonus, put your bonus on that, and win some more with the free square. Make things easy on yourself. So code Mayo, that is the sponsor this year. So let's go help them out. If you're a big fan of the show, again, the Mayo Media newsletter is where you will find the rankings, always completely free, and I will keep them updated. Let's get to it. Running back rankings. Week 1, I still have Christian McCaffrey at number 1 right now, taking on the Jets. That's Monday Night Football, so keep an update on what his health is going to be. It does appear like he is going to play. Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, Breece Hall in that same Monday Night Football game. James Cook at number 5 against El Cardinal. Barkley, Henry, Pacheco, Travis Etienne Jr. against Miami. And then Kyron Williams at number 10. This has been the talk of the past week. Like, oh my God, Kyron's going to be returning punts. Therefore, he's not going to play running back anymore. I think it's presented an absolutely gift opportunity for everyone in season-long leagues right now because he's slipped like 2 rounds all of a sudden. Like, he was returning punts from weeks 1 to 3 before he turned his ankle last year, and it didn't hurt what he was up to once he became the starter. Is he going to get 95% of the carries in the backfield? No. No one thought he was going to get that anyway. So whether it's Corum, whether it's Ronnie Rivers, who comes in to spell him from time to time, I don't really care. I bumped him down like a spot or 2 in the off chance that, this is Cam Akers 2.0 and I'm completely wrong. But for week 1, you drafted the guy. You're rolling him out there.
You are. And so we talked about a lot on SiriusXM, all these shows, SiriusXM, All in Fantasy Podcast, and at length. Like, you can be concerned about Kyron Williams, but what I keep saying, the concern was neither the punts or saying the punts don't matter. Like, that honestly has nothing to do with my concern of Kyron Williams. It has to do with the fact of Kyron Williams withstanding 20 touches a game, which we already said 90% wasn't going to happen again. He wasn't going to average 25 touches per week, hitting the overs in Vegas when they gave him 19 and a half carries. And it's like, well, he still hit the over. We kind of expected that wasn't going to happen. My only and remaining concern, again, has nothing to do with the punts. It has to do with Blake Corum, because if you're talking about what arguably was the best running back in the draft class at punching it into the end zone and being a short yardage beast, it was Blake Corum. Estime probably in the conversation after him and others like that. But my concern is, what if Kyron Williams is James Cook? But to your point about James Cook, and in these rankings, I would still have Kyron just as a fringe RB1 is where you have him, is worst case scenario, he only has 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns, but he's still going to get the passing game. This matchup leans towards the passing game, seeing more work than Blake Corum. So not that concerned. Again, if he only scores 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns the entire season, okay, he's RB11 instead of being RB2 like he was.
And James Cook for this week, I think this is an absolutely gift spot for him against the Cardinals in week 1, where even if he doesn't score a touchdown, it feels like he should put up 125, 150 yards.
See? Yeah, and that's to go back to the offseason conversation you and I had, and if anybody didn't watch that show, where I wasn't quite as high as you were on James Cook, I said that by also saying I still consider him like Matt Forte, the Matt Forte years where it was only 5 or 6 touchdowns, and it was tons of work between the 10s. You know what? Not every running back is going to be Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry doesn't do much in the passing game. So you got to give and take here. Not super concerned, and yeah, I think both of them are in great spots. I think Etienne's in a great spot in that because he's going to be used in the passing game as well, so you don't have to worry about his workload if Miami gets out early. So I love, honestly, like everybody inside your top 10 for week 1. You should. They were all drafted as first and second rounders.
Yeah, we don't need to tell you to play your second round pick. Although there are people that like, Breece Hall was a bad matchup against San Francisco. Should I play Brian Robinson instead? Like, those questions are coming. Just don't do that to yourself in week 1.
No, don't do it, period. Like this is, why did you draft him in the first place? This is a whole argument of quarterbacks too, is like, if you drafted Lamar Jackson, don't draft the second one, because why are you ever sitting Lamar Jackson? Even if he's facing the 49ers, you're still not sitting Lamar Jackson. You're not sitting your first rounders. The interesting thing I will say, to nitpick the number 1 pick if you really wanted to, forget injury. Meany and I went through and I pulled up on True Media the splits with Trent Williams on the field and off the field if his contract situation isn't figured out. The 49ers efficiency per touchdown percentage, all the numbers drop into the bottom 10 of the league without Trent Williams versus being who they are with Trent Williams. That is astonishing for one tackle. Like, I know he's a generational talent and going to be a Hall of Famer, but to see those numbers drop that far, again, you're still playing Christian McCaffrey, but I think you could actually, if you were playing DFS or something like that, you could make the case where McCaffrey isn't the one if Trent Williams' situation isn't figured out.
Yeah, and that's going to be on a showdown slate anyway on Monday night. But
Right.
all that starts to lead me to believe that means it's going to be 8 carries for 42 yards for McCaffrey on the ground and 13 catches for 104 yards.
Especially if Ayuk's not out there.
Well, we'll get to that when we get to wide receivers, because between Chase, Aiyuk, like I have them in the rankings right now. We'll talk through the different scenarios
Right.
if that doesn't end up happening. Do you worry about McCaffrey at all with the injury coming into the season?
No.
Okay.
No, because the reports I've read, and of course, like there's multiple coming through, but I forget who mentioned it, but I saw on Twitter when it was passing through, because I think it was on air when it happened. But anyway, the report is that the 49ers are actually the ones holding him back. Is that McCaffrey wants to be out there with his team, and they're like, why? Like, chill out. It kind of similar to Javonte Williams last year. Remember when Javonte Williams last year was like, I'm ready to go, and the Broncos were like, chill out, dude. We don't even know if you're ready for week one. I kind of feel like that's the similar situation, but McCaffrey is going to be fine for week one. This is just, why even give him touches, even in practice? It's rare it happens, but we've seen practice injuries happen, and we've had people knocked out for the entire season in practice. I think that's more the case than anything.
Since the last time we spoke, Samaje Perine has ended up with the Chiefs. I still have Isaiah Pacheco in the opening game at number 8. I don't think that Perine's going to take much away from him at all. He's more insurance. Maybe he'll get spelled in like Jarek used to, but we did see throughout the course of the second half of last season that it became all Pacheco all the time in one of the better offenses in football. Maybe they'll get off to a slow start, although I don't anticipate Baltimore's defense repeating as the overachievers that they were a year ago. I think you're going to be able to run on them. I don't want to say no problem, but I think that the Chiefs will be able to run on them no problem with Pacheco. But as it stands in terms of handcuffs right now, you would be looking at Perine as the guy over Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yes, I would actually consider Perine a top 5 handcuff at this point, mostly because if I said, hey, he catches 90% of his targets, you could say, who are you talking about between Pacheco and Perine? Like, that's the thing. So long term, 3, 4, 5 weeks down the road, once Perine's in the mix, maybe I'm a little bit concerned about Pacheco, as in, okay, he's not top 10. Now he's right in the mix of like Josh Jacobs or Joe Mixon or somebody like that, where he does lose a few. I mean, remember, you talked about it all the time during the year it was happening. McKinnon, when he caught, 8 or 9 touchdowns that year. So it's not like they won't use the option. And Pacheco has been banged up and missed time already. Actually, I think both years, but at least definitively last year, he missed a decent chunk. So maybe they say, why give Pacheco 20 touches, similar to what a lot of teams do at this point. And again, you pull off just a little bit from the passing game. It's enough to just knock him down a few spots. I would still consider Pacheco an RB1 even once that happened. But because of that talk, again, I don't want to put this out there in case it was like unfounded, but I saw the report that said somebody was really shocked that they cut Prince because of what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was dealing with, kind of a PTSD from injuries or whatever it might be, and that's why he's got like anxiety when he runs the ball or something, whatever it was. Again, it wasn't multiple reports where I saw this, but it was enough to say like it stuck in the back of my mind, and the fact that you also see this Perine news and that Edwards-Helaire might just not be in the equation anymore, and he's certainly had his struggles as a player the past 2 years. So I would pick up Perine. I'd still put Mason in front of him, Algier. Bucky Irving, I actually think could have weekly value alone, so he's up there too. But Perine would be right inside about the top 5 handcuffs.
11 through 20, I got K-Dub-3, Kenneth Walker III coming in at number 11 against Denver. Joe Mixon, again, on Houston, if you're just tuning in after a 6-month break, against Indianapolis. Devon A-Chain, Josh Jacobs, Elvin Kamara, Rashad White, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chuba Hubbard, with Brooks on the PUP list to start the season, out the first 4 games. James Conner against Buffalo, and then Aaron Jones on the Vikings against the New York Giants. Go ahead, nitpick away.
I don't have much to nitpick here. I mean, it's week 1. What are you going to go with here? Like, I know you're probably going to get pushback, people yelling at you about Jahmyr Gibbs. That would be my assumption.
I see that. That's actually an injury I'm somewhat worried about, both long-term and short-term, that it's a hamstring injury. They say he's good, but we've seen so many of these soft tissue injuries from the preseason just linger. Guys play through them because they want to be out there. They don't give themselves the requisite time to heal, and all of a sudden it pops up again. That I could see Dan Campbell being like, hey, we can run the ball pretty steadily in this game. That feels like more of a David Montgomery type play. We know Gibbs is the better running back. That's why he's being drafted higher. That's why I have him ranked higher. But if he is not going to be full go in terms of the volume of touches, everyone I have ranked above him is the guy who's touching the ball.
And that's certainly fair. And I was just letting you know that's the one that you were going to get pushback on, because I didn't rank him as a top 8 or 9 running back, or 8. He's right around 9, 10, 11 to start the season. And that tons of pushback for that. How could you do that? Did you see the workload and everything? And it was part of the injury, and also the fact that I think Montgomery is not going to go anywhere. And I know that Gibbs did really good, even with the split in Montgomery in the second half of the season. It's just that inconsistent. Like you bring it up, any time where they have a substantial lead, or maybe Gibbs is banged up, and like you mentioned, it's soft tissue. It's kind of why force the issue? And maybe we're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and the Gibbs should be top 5, but I'm just not there on it. The only one that I wanted to nitpick, that's not one I would nitpick, but the one I wanted to is James Conner, while healthy for me, is going to be an RB1. I don't care who he's even facing, especially with Kyler Murray back, quarterback again, and 100% healthy. James Conner last year, for the second half of the season, that everybody wants to talk up Gibbs and Pacheco and everything. Like James Conner was, oh, by the way, third behind Kyron and Christian McCaffrey in points per game once he was 100%. And that was without Kyler Murray being Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison opening up this offense. So I'm going to have James Conner in the conversation. My rankings would be Kyron, Connor, Walker, Mixon, and maybe even flip Mixon and Walker, but I don't really care about that one. But I would put Connor right at 11. I think he deserves to be an RB1 until he's hurt.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I'm still running my rudimentary projections for the week already. Once again, runthesims.com. You can use code Mayo, customize everything you want, along with the betting and DFS tools. It's all tools, no content, and it'll give you the percentages that you want. I have James Conner at 10 in the projections for the week. He's actually one spot behind Kyron, one spot ahead of Gibbs, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, and Kenneth Walker, but I could see them falling behind in this game. And the one thing this was one of the transactions that really stood out to me, is that the Cardinals let Desmond Ridder go. His timbers got rittered, and now he's unemployed. And they kept Clayton Tune. And not that really means anything, but everyone's so fearful about Kyler Murray running the ball, stealing touchdowns. He doesn't really do that anymore. However, they do employ the tush push at a higher success rate than the Philadelphia Eagles. They did that last year. And who did they do that with? Clayton Tune. To come in, even when Murray was back, they would bring him in to do that. They have kept him on the roster, I think, in order to basically just do that. They'll probably, if Murray got hurt, they'd probably bring Ridder back. They don't want to play Clayton Tune, but he's excellent at the tush push. So if you're on the 2 or you're on the 1, I could see them bringing him in and scoring touchdowns and stealing that away from James Conner.
I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying there, but I don't think it's enough for me to knock out James Conner. Again, we're gonna have to get down to the 1. I still think James Conner I could even see James Conner getting the first opportunity and then Tune getting the second or something like that. Or maybe they do Tune on the first and he doesn't get in and then they go back to Conner. I don't think it's going to be 100% Tune. It's not 100% with Jalen Hurts, but I mean, we're talking about 15 touchdowns and how many of them came within that tush push range. So I think it's a factor. And if you were talking about season-long projections of saying, okay, James Conner scores 7 touchdowns rushing instead of 10, I think that's the bigger conversation. But a week in and week out, trying to estimate when that will and won't happen, I'm not going to go that far with it.
All right, I'll bump him up 1 spot to 18. I'll move him above Chuba Hubbard.
Wow,
you got me, Jake.
One whole spot. See, this is why we're not doing it this year. This is fun for week 1, but people are going to start Conner anyway.
You should start. Listen, I had him ranked at 19. I have him ranked at 18 now. He's a start. That's what I'm saying, at least in the rankings. I have Aaron Jones at 20. What do you make of Aaron Jones? I find him to be one of the more confusing fantasy players. I could see him being really good.
I have a lot of Aaron Jones so far. I still have him in the mid-teens, and it's funny because I went from being the Aaron Jones hater for my entire career to the Aaron Jones supporter, because we'd actually talked about this in the offseason. My biggest factor was never Aaron Jones on a per-touch basis. One of the most efficient running backs there was and is in the league on a per-touch basis. It was that his touches were never really 300. A lot of them came in the passing game, which is good for us because a lot of us play half and full point PPR to this point. But it was the touchdown variance. It's oh my God, he was RB5 that one year, and then he was RB4 the other year. But then the other years, he's usually RB11 or 12. And I'm just I wasn't going to bank on that touchdown variance, just like we weren't banking on Kamara being the RB1 by scoring double-digit touchdowns on the ground every single year, which is fine. It's okay. He can be a fringe RB1. With the Vikings, they signed him. I'm not the biggest Ty Chandler fan in general. I don't think there are a huge amount of people out there saying oh, Ty Chandler, significant threat to Aaron Jones. But Aaron Jones, I bring that up to say, doesn't need 300 touches. He can have 220 on the ground and another 50 receptions and be around 260, 270 and still be where you have him, which is, I would actually even say you could argue a little bit higher. If not, we're waiting to see how bad the offense might be with Sam Darnold. But as a solid RB2, he's going to be the lead. He's going to get receptions. He's kind of a lesser version, honestly, of like, I would say James Cook.
Yeah.
And the touchdowns might be better.
They could be. Or he might
Might
suffer.
be.
If
Yeah,
they
that's
end up
what
using him as a workhorse, he might actually just suffer from Lamar Miller syndrome, where he was just as good with 10 touches as he was with 20.
That's the one I always bring up. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So 21 to 30, I got Sideshow Raheem Mostert at number 21. Colonel Mostert. Najee Harris, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Jerome Ford, Tony Pollard, Zamir White, Javonte Williams, Zach Charbonnet, and then Devin Singletary at number 30. I found these guys basically once I got to Jerome Ford at 25, then a lot of them became very interchangeable for me. I'm still worried that we don't have any confirmation that Jaylen Warren is necessarily going to play as of yet, do we?
No, but my concern about that. I don't even care if he doesn't play because it's Arthur Smith and Cordell Patterson will just take what Jaylen Warren was going to do anyway.
I feel like we've really overestimated the impact of Cordell Patterson, especially last year with the Falcons. We didn't do fuck all.
He didn't, but guess what he did do? More goal line carries than Bijan Robinson. Not Tyler Algier. More goal line carries than Bijan Robinson. That's Arthur Smith. And in this preseason game, no Jaylen Warren. Oh, well, maybe we get a full workhorse load to see what Najee Harris can still do. Nope. Cordell Patterson got just as many touches as Jaylen Warren has. I am out on this entire backfield because I think when healthy, all three, Patterson included, is going to be involved. And I'm not saying that one of them can't finish, Warren or Harris can't finish as an RB2. It's just I don't want to play them because you're going to just have to put Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, when healthy, in your lineup every single week because you're not going to be able to. It's the old Jared Cook at tight end situation. You're not going to be able to predict good matchup or bad matchup, whether or not it happens, who's going to have the good game. And it's usually going to be one or the other. So Najee Harris, where he is, I'd push down if Warren's healthy significantly. I'd push him behind even Zamir White. If there is no Jaylen Warren, I don't move him as far, but I would play Jerome Ford before him, especially Jerome Ford with no Nick Chubb for the first 4 weeks.
Okay, so I'll do that right now. I'll move Najee down to 25 behind Jerome Ford. Then Pollard's 26. I'll go through the 31 through 40 as well. I got Ramondre at number 31, Gus Edwards, Zach Moss, Jaylen Warren. Not Warren from Something About Mary, Jake. Jaylen Warren on the Steelers. Tajay Spears, Rico Dwaddle, Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, Austin Eckler, and then Zeke at 40. Dalvin Cook is obviously in the mix right now. Do you think that Dalvin Cook has a role week one?
Not much, but I do think he has a long-term role where I don't want anything to do with his backfield at all.
I still think that long-term Zeke is going to be their guy. It's going to be just like what happened in New England last year.
It's going to be miserable.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to be. It's going to be so. And season long, we're not talking about, but season long, I pushed Zeke outside the top 40, and then he was still in front of Dowdle, almost at 50, and then Dalvin Cook was down in the 50s because I think this will be a full-blown committee. I mean, Jerry Jones running it back like it's 2020 or something. I don't know what the hell he's thinking, but like, you have 2 washed running backs. Good job. But for that point, I'm kind of looking like see. It's interesting what you said to go back to the 20s, where you said 25 plus. Like there's a lot of we don't know, and like Zach Moss is are the reports that hey he's doing a lot in the passing game, and Chase Brown has been struggling at times, and Zach Moss gets 17 touches. It's too low, but is there a world where they split 50-50? You have it there. Same thing like Gus Edwards. How much of the workload does he get? Is he going to be Gus Bus and scoring touchdowns as easy with the Chargers? Question mark. The split between the Titans? Question mark. The one where I would put higher, and I don't know, I was going to ask you if you're worried a little bit about the matchup, although I don't think you are because it's the Buccaneers. But Brian Robinson, I feel better about than where you have him at 37. Like, I feel like you have Warren in your ranks. I would put Brian Robinson kind of in that conversation with like Gus Edwards, Singletary, Stevenson, Moss. Kind of not a huge difference, but he, in my opinion, name-wise, deserves to be with those names.
So you would say Brian Robinson after Zach Moss ahead of Jaylen Warren?
Yeah, at least 3 spots higher.
Okay. What about someone like Javonte Williams, who I do have at number 28 right now? Like, should he be because I have Tony Pollard at 26. I really don't know what's going on between Pollard and Spears. Like, Spears could most definitely outscore. I'm going to go with the veteran at the moment, and not necessarily the veteran of the team, but the veteran of the overall NFL career in Tony Pollard. You bring him in, it's week 1, he's healthy, coming off. It wasn't a lost season, but clearly the leg affected him far more than any of us thought going into the year last year with Dallas. Now he should be okay health-wise, that I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. However, it does seem like Zamir White and Javonte Williams, and hell, Devin Singletary for that matter, are the 3 guys ranked after him that should produce more volume, almost guaranteed off the hop.
Right, but it's the uncertainty too, and this is what happens in week 1 when you have everybody at your disposal. Javonte Williams, if I told you he's 100% ready to roll the first week and he is the clear lead. So a clear lead even under Sean Payton doesn't mean 75% of the touches, but clear lead, Javonte Williams way too low. But your 28 spot feels like, as a complete aside to that, 28's wrong. Like, he's either going to be way too high or way too low, because maybe we get out of week 1 and they're running a full committee. The interesting thing with Sean Payton is he's building his offense. He's building Bo Nix. What does he do? A very similar game to Drew Brees back in the day. You have receivers that are starting to come more into the mold of getting open over the middle of the field, the big slots, that type of thing. And some of the pieces still don't fit 100%, but the backfield seemingly does, because what does Javonte Williams do that kind of gets overlooked? He's really good in the passing game. Like, I like McLaughlin as much as the next guy, especially in space and catching the ball, but let's not discount Javonte Williams, the receiving running back. And what does this offense do, especially Bo Nix, even before he met Sean Payton? He was throwing it at the line of scrimmage to running backs 90% of the time. I know that's exaggeration, but that's all Bo Nix was known for. This is one of the biggest complaints about Bo Nix coming out of college. So if you told me Javonte Williams is the clear lead, he's probably falling into the best of Kamara workload. I'm not the best of Kamara results, but 12, 13 touches on the ground and another 5 through the air. And now you're talking about 18 touches with 5 receptions, which is so few against the running backs. And maybe the yards aren't 100 plus, but that kind of production and volume and guaranteed work through the air deserves to be higher. But we don't know for certain that that's the case for week 1. Could it be Williams 50%, McLaughlin 30%, and estimate get some short yard work at 20%? Yes, and I think that's why where you have them is fair, at least to see how week 1 plays out.
Now that we've talked this through, I made a few changes. I bumped down Zach Charbonnet from 29 to 34 behind Brian Robinson and Zach Moss, and Gus Edwards, that tier of players. And to talk it through a little bit more, you mentioned Harris. We talked about Pollard. Bump those guys down. I actually moved Zamir White up to 25th and Javonte Williams to 26. So they're right at, I do think that Zamir White is going to be the bell cow back until he's not, because maybe he's not that good in Vegas, but he's playing the Chargers. The Chargers have no run defense to speak of. Minshew's chucking them the ball. Like, I could see him getting 20 plus touches in this game.
I completely agree. I have a lot of Zamir White, but I keep comparing him to Kenyon Drake. And like, Kenyon Drake was good. He was top 15 running back for time, but we knew Kenyon Drake had his limitations. Part of it in the passing game. I think Zamir White might even have potentially more limitations in the passing game. That being said, it really comes down to, if they're playing the Chiefs, I'd move Zamir White down because, okay, yeah, do we really see the Raiders keeping that game in check? The Chargers offense, you could easily keep it in check. And you mentioned if the Chargers run defense is anything like it was last year, which offseason moves would suggest it's not much better than it was last year, was one to just run through, and Zamir White can do that in the close games. My only concern for Zamir White is if they get behind and they start passing and all of a sudden it's Dylan Labe. But I really don't think that Labe is going to be that big of a thorn in his side, where Zamir White's still not a volume-dependent RB2. Lower end, he's on the Raiders, limited passing game work, but how many running backs are we talking that should be in line for 15-plus carries per week? It's a handful, and he's one of them.
Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Supercharger, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. Everyone who tunes into the Pat Mayo Experience knows from time to time I like to talk to you about some health supplements that I end up taking, and I've been doing Timeline's MitoPure now for about a month. Feel great, and I think you can too. Take 2 soft gels a day for 2 months, and you can see significant improvements in your cellular energy, your muscle strength, and your endurance. That was the big thing. I've been golfing more this summer and lifting less. Yet when I go back to the gym for my once a week, like max lift, I'm not really atrophying that much. I'm not losing a ton of muscle, which is absolutely fantastic news for me and my golf game, because if you work out too much, then you get too sore, you get too stiff, you need to retain that flexibility. I'm retaining my muscle mass at the same time, although I'm not working out as much, and it comes in 2 product designs to fit your needs. They're berry powder, which is great to mix into your breakfast, yogurt, or daily smoothie. That's how I've been doing it. I've been eating some strawberries, raspberries, blackberries with a little bit of yogurt, a little bit of protein powder, then boom, Timeline's MitoPure right on top of that. Or they have soft gels for the days where you're just on the run and wanted something convenient to grab and go. So, Timeline is offering 10% off your first order of MitoPure right now. So go to timeline.com/Mayo to get that 10% off. All right? Once again, the rankings are down in the description if you want to go hit them up. Justin Jefferson, number 1. Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Jamar, CeeDee Lamb, Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson against San Francisco, tougher matchup. A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Puka Nacua. The news on Nacua is that he was fully able to participate in practice on Thursday. He should be good to go for week 1, no limitations. Devontae Adams at 11. Olave, Collins, Kirk, Kupp, Waddle, T. Higgins, Debo, Mike Evans, and Brandon Aiyuk. Obviously, there are 2 names on this list that I have ranked as if they are just playing, but they might not be playing, and we should probably talk through those situations. I have Jamar Chase at number 4. He is not signed as of yet. Do you think that he plays in week 1?
I do, because he's still out there at practice. Like, yes, he's not practicing, but he's out there with the team, unlike Aiyuk. And multiple reporters have said, like, they're very tight-lipped. His camp himself doesn't talk a lot. Doesn't seem like there's huge beef with the team like there is with Brandon Aiyuk. Maybe he's positioned himself to try and get one, but he's also 2 years out. Maybe he's just playing the role, and the team is okay with it. Again, Zach, he's like, it was weird. Taylor said that, like, he knew he was going to practice and then said, well, maybe I misspoke and backtracked a little bit. Like, that kind of feels like something he should have known, but at the same time, maybe it's because they're working on a deal and they're like, okay, it's fine while we're working on the deal. You don't need to be on the field. We know what you can do with Joe Burrow, so why even risk it if they are working on a deal? Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's just me speculating.
So let's say Chase doesn't play. How high does Higgins go? And then how high does Yeshmash go or Burton go?
Yoshi? Yeah. Just call him Yoshi.
I like calling him Yoshi.
You should do that little sound effect.
Oh, if I could do it with my voice, make the Yoshi sound. Jake, this is, like I said, this is year 11 of us doing this. I can see myself on camera right now. I'm old. My voice is old. I can't do the Yoshi sound effect anymore.
I don't know if anybody does that even come out of a human making that noise?
No.
And by the way, is he actually punching him in the back of the head? Do you believe that? Do you believe that, like, Mario's like hitting him in the back of the head to make his tongue stick out?
I mean, Jake, I don't spend my day on Mario Reddit like you do, so it never occurred to me.
You should watch the slowdown video. Everybody's saying it's punching him in the back of the head. T. Higgins would go up for me 1 spot behind Nacua. I have legitimate concerns of Devontae Adams as a whole, even with Minshew at quarterback, because
you got concerned about his hole? Get that man some Prep H?
Yeah, get him some. We're talking about him on a whole. Devontae Adams, 175 targets last year. Wide receiver 18 in points per game on 175. And I quizzed Meanie on this when we did Sirius XM today, depending on when you're watching this, it was today. And I said, who had the higher completion percentage? And I said, was it Gardner Minshew? Or was it the combination? And I cheated a little bit, but here's why. A combination of O'Connell and Jimmy Garoppolo, because he was talking about how miserable it was for Jimmy Garoppolo. They combined for a higher completion percentage. Actually, Garoppolo was over 65, and Minshew was only 0.1% better than Aiden O'Connell. So I say that to say, do we really think Devontae's getting 175 targets again?
Probably.
And then if you look at this matchup, You think so? You think 170 plus?
I mean, 170 is probably pushing. I'll give him 150. Although I would like to see what the breakdown of the completion
150.
percentage from yards, 15 to 30 downfield were from Minshew versus Aiden O'Connell, who has like limp arm.
Okay, that's a fair one. I'll dig through that by next week. I'll even tweet you to put that one on when I pull that up. But what it comes down to is I also don't think versus the Chargers, he needs one of the 8, 9, 10 target games. That's all it is. Like, that's why I put T. Higgins in front of him. And if it were my rankings, I might tick Adams down 2 or 3 spots. My biggest concern in your rankings is somebody we're not even talking about yet. So let's talk about Aiyuk because I want to come back to the other one.
So Aiyuk is the tougher one because they play Monday night. So you're either gonna, it's going to be a last second thing or you're just going to know by Tuesday because he's going to sign, then he's going to be on the field, and then he's going to play. But he's costing himself bucks by holding out, right? Like, it's not just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get paid anyway. Like, he needs to be on the field to get paid.
He does. And he's not even at practice, which is why I bring that up about Chase actually being out there with the team and still at practice. Yes, he's not practicing, but he's there, which seems to be like there's some animosity. And there was an article in The Athletic today talking about the path that the 49ers tried to go down, and now it feels irreparable. I don't remember the word he used. It wasn't irreparable, but it was in that vein of like, oh my God, this might not even work if there is no contract. We might just get no Aiyuk come week 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, this could go on. At least that's how it felt when you read the article. It's enough for me to be concerned for Aiyuk in redraft, and it's enough to be concerned in week 1. We'll know, as you said, though, like if he's not practicing next Tuesday when people are watching this and he's not out there on Tuesday and Wednesday, then, he's probably not even playing in week 1. And if he does play in week 1 and not practicing Tuesday and Wednesday, it's not going to be enough that I really want to risk it anyway.
So you would bump him down from 20 then. You'd be like, give me Jerry Jeudy. Pass on Brandon Aiyuk.
No, because now it's the upside of what he could do with 3 catches. Because there's another one I quizzed Meany on. Fifth in the league on receiving yards, 105 targets. You have to go all the way down to Justin Jefferson at 100 targets to get anybody within the top 25 of receiving yards to have those kind of numbers. And I guess that's Aiyuk's argument after the playoff game. He was like, I can't believe I didn't get more targets. Dude, you're going to the Super Bowl. Shut the hell up. But 105, I understand it. He can do more than most. I want to go that far. I would put, who he feels like, honestly? The risk and the upside of what could happen on a per play basis. If Brandon Aiyuk doesn't practice till next Friday or Thursday, the difference between feels about the same.
You cut out and the name got bleeped. Who was the name?
It was Mike Williams.
Okay, Mike
That's
Williams.
awesome.
Okay. Like Mike,
you should have just left it empty and then dubbed somebody in there ridiculous.
yeah.
Yes, Mash.
Or Brandon Aiyuk. I don't know. That's not even close to Yoshi. Okay.
No, it's not.
So
You tried, though.
where would I bump Debo up to? Like, or is he where he's going to be? Do I just bump him to like number 13, one spot behind Olave?
Yeah, I think Debo's in the wide receiver 1 conversation, even with Aiyuk. Of course, it's just going to be volatile. I mean, he had 30-point games and he had 3-point games. So no Aiyuk.
Am I going to guess
Yeah.
that you're mad about Christian Kirk's ranking?
No,
Oh, okay, good. Because it's a good ranking.
No.
Maybe too low.
that's not the one I'm mad about.
All right,
No,
hit me. Hit me with it. Hit me with it, Jake.
16. Soft tissue industries. Injuries with Jalen Waddle. Like, he's out there in a wrap, and we don't know as of today. Now, of course, if you're watching this Wednesday of week 1 coming, you might have an answer at this point. So skip ahead 2 minutes or whatever it ends up being. But Jalen Waddle, as of right now, there's a lot of no news. This is what I said to Meany. I said, no news in this situation is not good news. Like, I need to know. This is somebody who's been dealing with injuries. This is a soft tissue on a wide receiver, and we've seen these linger. We've seen these linger with quarterbacks, Joe Burrow. I'm really worried about Jalen Waddle. In my redraft, I pushed him down to 24. I would take Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin's, a lot of others of 2s before I took Waddle at this point because of the risk of this lingering or even getting worse. Like, I compared it to, you remember the 1 year of Julio Jones where every single week it was like, oh, he played 3 quarters. Oh, he played a half. Oh, he didn't practice, but then he played and he showed back up on the foot. Like, I feel like this is where we're headed with Jalen Waddle. And that's Julio Jones, not Jalen Waddle, where we still were okay with it. This is just so concerning to me.
Okay, so I'll bump him down. I'm good with that. If I see him practice in full on Wednesday and Thursday, I'll move him back up to 16. But
Right.
since we're concerned, we don't know what the news is going to be. I go 21 to 30. I got McLaurin, Pittman, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Malik Neighbors, Devonta Smith, Keenan Allen, Godwin, Drake London, Calvin Ridley, and Deontay Johnson would be next. So where would Waddle fall into that mix? Would you put him a spot after London? Would you put him a spot behind Devonta Smith? Like, where are you looking?
So first of all, I know another pushback you're going to get from viewers. You're going to get, what the hell, why do you hate Drake London? That's coming for you. I'm just warning you right now.
I feel like,
29.
unless this is your first episode, just call me dubious on the Falcons. Like, fucking show me something first before I have to believe you're the incredible.
Yeah, but you like their defense for years. You like the matchups when you get their defense in a great matchup.
I like their fantasy defense always. Just
yeah.
that's why I like them again. Do I like them again? I don't even know where I have them. No, I don't.
Oh, really?
I don't love them in
Not
week
for
one.
week one.
I had them at 11. Just spoiler in week one for fantasy defenses. But yeah,
Well, how many turnovers is Russ going to have?
Well, that's the whole thing. And fantasy defense is so much different than real life defense that and most of it really came down to like who are streamable defenses, who are cheap DraftKings defenses that I can exploit. It is no one ever wanted Atlanta's defense because everyone collectively agreed that they sucked, which they did, but they were pretty decent at fantasy. Just with London, I get every case for London. I just need him to show me something that's not 5 for 51 and no touchdowns.
Which I understand. So what I will say to answer your question, Jalen Waddle for me, because 27, like Keenan Allen seems healthy, question mark. Wasn't a lot of use in the preseason, even while on the field. Caleb Williams, he actually looked for Odunze more than he did Keenan. So I actually still have a lot of Keenan Allen because nobody wants to draft him this year, and I get the understandable risk. But the usage was at least there. He was out there for 100% of the dropbacks in the first-team offense, unlike Odunze, which was around 60%. But that being said, I think Waddle, for me, would stop right there at 26. I would go Devontae Smith, Waddle, Keenan Allen, because Waddle still has weekly top 15 upside. There is one other actually in the 23. I want to put Rashee Rice higher, and this is my same problem with my redraft rankings. I want Rashee Rice to go higher because I know what he could do with 130 targets. I know what he can do any given week with the target share that he saw last year, and I'm hoping he maintains that. But the names in front of him, I'm just like, I can't put him in front of the names in front of him.
I mean, that's where I'm at. I have him at number 22. Like, I could see bumping him above Pittman. I think just McLaurin's going to get so many targets that it's ridiculous in this offense.
Love McLaurin.
I mean, in redraft, season long, like for the rest of the year, I get what the problems with Rice are. They're going to let this situation play out legally. If something happens, then he's going to get suspended. If nothing happens, he's going to play the entire year. If nothing else, right now, he's looking like one of the incredible steals of the draft.
Yeah, for people that took earlier drafts because he's finally starting to come back around on that. But it's because we got that news that he's not getting suspended, which would have been loved to know. So in a world where Waddle's pushed down, Aiyuk is pushed down, Rice is now up to 21. Even if you wanted to push him to 20 in one spot in front of Pittman, then he's inside the top 20. But you're not sitting Mike Evans for him, even if you got that value. And that's the only reason I bring up Rice too, is because he might be your third or fourth wide receiver. But even so, the top 20 names you probably took before him, it's hard to start him over those.
Potentially, but if he ended up being your fourth receiver, third receiver drafted, you just have to consider yourself lucky at this point that you could.
Oh, of course.
Like if you would rerun the draft today, he would have been drafted as your wide receiver too, and that's how you have to move forward.
No, of course, 100%. I just meant now you have that week one luxury where you don't have to force him higher.
31. Deontay Johnson, Steph Diggs, George Pickens, Amari Cooper, Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, Mike Williams, Xavier Worthy, and Keon Coleman at number 40. And then the rest of the top are 41 to 50. I have Josh Palmer, Brian Thomas, Jordan Addison, Tank Dell, JSN, Lockett, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, Brennan Cooks, and Darnell Mooney, who appeared. JJ and I built out a season-long fantasy prop on Underdog. Code Mayo, by the way, if you want to get in on that, or go watch that show, and you can copy the entry that we played. $375 pays $7,500, Jake. It's great. Darnell Mooney, over yardage this year.
What was the yardage?
525 yards.
Oh, that feels like if he stays healthy, that feels like a gimme. Darnell Mooney, like you angrily gave why you're like you want Drake London to do something, but My argument for this entire situation, this entire time, has been if Kirk Cousins is going to fix the situation with Drake London, is he going to fix Kyle Pitts? Well, Darnell Mooney is going to have value, is he not? Every single second wide receiver, even at the third option with Kirk Cousins throwing for 4,700 yards. Darnell Mooney, I'm with you. I've hammered some Darnell Mooney early. The other one I really like, by the way, to go back to the rankings, because we talked about him because of the Jamar Chase situation. T. Higgins' yardage prop is absurd. The guy for 2021 21 and 22 destroyed it. And they're like, oh, 750 yards.
Yeah, he's on that.
Is it up to 800 yet?
Yeah, it is. It's 825, I think. So we have Higgins over, Darnell Mooney over, Sam Darnold over 3,400 passing yards. We just need him to keep the stupid job the entire season. There's two other ones. Anyway, I've tweeted it out. It's in the newsletter. You can go find what the entry is. We played the 5-banger on that. I think it pays like 40 to 1, 45 to 1, something. And at this point of the year, I really like them. But anytime that you play higher on these yardage totals that seem artificially low, you just have to hope for health. Pray that they stay healthy.
Yes. Yeah, because as you talk about every single year, and we always discuss, if you're actually talking season-long numbers, the odds are always usually with the unders, just because then you factor in missed time.
Exactly. So anyone from beyond the top 50 that you think that we should have a discussion about? Like, I have Watson the highest of the Green Bay guys, but I have all four of them, I think, inside the top 65. Like, they're all just in that range together. I don't really know what to do with them. Hopefully we can get some clarity on that. Jacoby Myers, I at 51. I always like Jacoby Myers. There was a guy who tweeted me that I'm too low on Adonai Mitchell. Like, give me a break.
There you go. That was my burner account.
Was it? Good.
No, it's Adonai, by the way.
Great.
And don't call him AD unless you're friends. He made a joke about that only his friends call him AD. But Adonai Mitchell, the appeal here comes down to if we knew, let's put it this way, Josh Downs is the number 2, and they didn't draft Mitchell. You consider him a wide receiver 4, which that's all I'm campaigning for. I'm not campaigning to say like Adonai Mitchell needs to be top 36 or anything, because this is still going to be a limited passing game. But now that Downs is conceivably out for a few more weeks, he's still on the knee scooter. The thing with Mitchell is that he does what Downs does. My concern about Mitchell when drafted is that Downs and Richardson had that connection, because that's the kind of receiver that Richardson was comfortable as his escape plan in college, kind of like the Tyler Lockett to Russell Wilson situation. But Mitchell can do it too. And what I loved about the preseason, now that Downs was hurt, is that Mitchell was playing the slot when they're in 3 wide, but when they dropped down to 2 wide receiver sets, he kicked outside and stayed on the field. That makes me like Mitchell, again, as a wide receiver 4 flyer. The only other interesting ones I would say further down your risk list is Dobbs. I'm higher on Dobbs than anybody, mostly because they keep using him alongside Watson as a top 2 wide receiver with Reed and Wicks afterwards, which Dobbs' target volume, if he is going to maintain that job, of course, we know the Packers could throw this out the window. It could be a 4-man rotation, and we're just frustrated. But I would have Dobbs a little bit higher. And the only other one is because the shootout potential, and I know what you're going to say because I remember what you said the first time I brought him up in redraft rankings, but Jameson Williams in this game is in the Mike Williams conversation for me for this game.
I can see it. I guess the difference to me is it's how I envision Mike Williams, and he's now expected to play week 1 on Monday night against the 49ers. Like, he might only have 5 targets. Everyone thinks it's going to be Garrett Wilson, and maybe they're right. But in my head, I think of what Mike Williams can do and how good he is at going up and getting contested balls in tight spaces. That the way that Aaron Rodgers used to use Devontae Adams in the red zone, I think that's how he's going to use Mike Williams. So I'm taking a stand on that one, at least for 1 week.
Oh, no. To be clear, I am 100% with you. I just went on a rant on SiriusXM today about why everybody thinks I hate Garrett Wilson and why nobody likes Mike Williams. I have Garrett Wilson at 13 in redraft. We're not talking about week 1 rankings for this. 13, he's still a fringe wide receiver 1. If you want to complain, go right ahead. I'm not going to listen, because Garrett Wilson for me is like Chris Olave, is like Amari Cooper. Like, let's take this sample of Amari Cooper's entire career. There's a lot of similarities between these 3 wide receivers. DJ Moore before last year. DJ Moore's guaranteed to repeat the touchdowns. What do all these guys have similar? 12, 1,300 yards, but they're not the touchdown guys. The touchdowns are kind of that variance we talked about with Kamara at running back. If you look at Cooper, he has a 7 and 8 touchdown season, but most of the time he's sliding into that 4, 5, maybe 6 range. Same with DJ Moore. Chris Olave to his career, Garrett Wilson to his career. Garrett Wilson could get to 12 to 1,300 yards, but we're banking on Aaron Rodgers staying healthy. Okay, fine. Let's say Aaron Rodgers does stay healthy. Then what you just said, why the hell don't you like Mike Williams? Mike Williams, when healthy, maybe he only plays 6 games, but when healthy, he was a wide receiver 1. He was a wide receiver 2 at worst when healthy. So if healthy, Rodgers and Williams, I'm with you. You could argue Mike Williams is too low, and I'd be okay with it.
All right, I'll bump up Jameson Williams to number 52, but I have him on that same tier with Shaheed, who's still a bit banged up, and someone like Michael Wilson, who they could be playing catch up against the Bills the entire time.
Oh, you're not buying into Dorchland?
I mean, the human Dorch? I think he's been extinguished.
No, no more for you.
No more for me. Well, we'll see. We'll see how the season goes. It's week 1. We got to watch some football first before we make some really concrete decisions.
It's over.
Lot of guesswork going on right now. Tight end rankings for week number 1. Travis Kleiss as we say that he has dyslexia. It just turns out he can't read, but it's Kelsey, not Kleiss, as he seems to think. Is number 1. Trey McBride, number 2. Kincaid, 3. Laporta, Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Taysom Hill, George Kittle, me Timbers, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert, Jonnu Smith at 12, and then Brock Bowers, who is expected to play, not a guarantee, for Vegas at number 13 in week 1. Then Njoku and Cade Otton are the entire top 15 right now. Of course, once again, you can get the full rankings and the updates in the description or just by subbing to the Mayo Media newsletter. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with these rankings. I think that everyone from 1 to 7 is pretty interchangeable to me, honestly, from Kelsey to Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I think if there's no Aiyuk, you throw Kittle back into that mix.
Yeah.
Kittle is actually the only tight end with 1,000 yards last year. It's just he did it similar to Aiyuk on a low target and reception volume. So there's a little bit of risk there, but no Aiyuk pushes him into that conversation. But yeah, 1 through 7, Mark Andrews finishes 1, Kyle Pitts finishes 1, Laporta finishes 1. Like, I could say I think Mark Andrews should be higher, but I don't even really care because of what you just said. It's one giant group of 7 really good options.
Yeah, like these guys do different things, obviously, where you think that McBride, if everything translates, and I know with Marvin Harrison being there now, that might be a little bit different, but you're looking for your 7 for 79. If he scores a touchdown, he's tight end number 1. But if not, he has a pretty good floor. Yeah. Evan Ingram's kind of like the shittier version of that. He'll be 8 for 46 and probably won't score a touchdown, whereas Andrews can be 6 for 120 with 2 touchdowns, but it's more likely that he'll be 3 for 61. They're just all in that range. Yeah. Whoever scores the touchdown is going to be the one who's number 1.
Right. If you take the yards and receptions and did a half point or full point PPR without touchdowns, they'd probably, again, differently done, but they'd probably all fall right in within each other of a point difference. It's going to come down to who actually gets into the end zone. So I'm okay with everything. The only one I would really argue with is Laporta over Kincaid and maybe McBride just because of the touchdown upside in that game. Again,
sure,
kind of thinking could be a shootout type of game, but again, I don't care that much to even spend time on it.
Yeah, because it's not like he drafted 2 of these guys. Where you might get into a problem is if you're streaming right now in a 14-team league, even a 12-team league. What you said about Waddle earlier, because we've seen A-Chain out there running routes potentially as a wide receiver 3, because Beckham is also on the pup list. I just think that Jonnu Smith is going to be a cog in this Dolphins offense. He's still hilariously athletic.
I've taken way too many flyers on Jonnu Smith this year. He's in my top 5 breakout tight ends because of what you just said. We're looking for a 3. That's why I think Malik Washington is interesting in deeper leagues, especially if Waddle or Hill actually miss time. Because again, we talked about it just last week or the week before. We've cared about Braxton Berrios and other names like that. Sorry, a fly in front of me. What's the other guy that?
Take me to the river. Put me in the
Thank
water.
You. River Craycraft. Yeah, that's
Big Bass, Billy Bass, wherever the hell that thing was. Did you ever have one of those? The singing fish on the wall?
I hated those.
Take me to the river. Put me in the water. River Craycraft.
See, that's why.
That's a guy. I think he has been.
Craycraft.
I think that he has been taken to the river. I don't know what the hell he's doing now. But Jonnu's going to be there.
If I walked into a restaurant and that was on the wall, I'd turn around and go back.
No, you wouldn't. That would seem like the crappy.
Yes, I would, because I wouldn't want to listen to it.
Well, someone has to go push it.
Jonnu Smith. No, some of them are sensors. That's why. Is every time you walk past it, it goes up. I'm in Virginia. I hate that people consider us the South, but we're feet above North Carolina below us. We're essentially kind of there. There's a lot of fishing nonsense going on around here and hunting, and I've seen plenty of those.
It's like, hey, Farva, what's that restaurant you like with all the goofy shit on the wall? Shenanigans.
see, there you go. I don't have enough flair. Oh, that's what oh, God. Anyway, yes, Jonnu Smith. Way too many flyers on Jonnu Smith. I'm in the CBS league where I took Jonnu Smith because Taysom Hill does not have tight end eligibility on CBS.
Yeah, like, you could listen. People will push back that Njoku's too low at number 14, but just it's Deshaun Watson.
No.
Like I have Cooper too low.
Exactly.
I have Judy too low. I have all of the Browns too low because until he doesn't stink, I'm operating under the impression that he stinks.
To use what you said about the Falcons, until Deshaun Watson proves that he's anything better than bleep all, then I want nothing to do with this Browns passing game.
So Jonnu's the sleeper streamer guy for me. Is there anyone besides him that you would go to?
In week 1?
Yeah. Henry?
I'd say Henry, just because, especially you're getting Jacoby Brissett. That's exactly where I was going to go. Against the Bengals, hope that, the Patriots have to pass a lot, which they conceivably should, is that Jacoby Brissett, that's the one thing we do know. Similar to Philip Rivers and running backs and other quarterbacks, I could go down the list of loving certain things. Jacoby Brissett just peppers his tight end. That's where he's comfortable. That's legitimately his safety blanket. So if the mix of wide receivers of Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas, and all the rest, Demario Douglas, I have to do that for you this year, and all the rest, I think that you could see Hunter Henry being first or second in that team in targets in week 1.
He says, "It's a me, Super DeMario."
Yeah, there you go.
See,
You did even better.
I can still do the Mario voice. Can't do the Yoshi voice. Quarterbacks. Once again, if you are just jumping to quarterbacks, use code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy right now. Get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Once you do that, or if you have an Underdog handle, go hit the description. Enter the season-long Pick'em League. $25,000 in bonus money is available, but only if you fill out the Google form that takes 8 seconds to do. You might want to get your hands on that because it's free money. So go do that right now. Josh Allen, number 1. Hurts, number 2. Stroud, Phony, Tony, Richardson, number 4. Jaden Daniels, number 5. Mahomes, Lamar against each other opening night. Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold, number 10. Then I'm into Joe Burrow, Trevi Lawrence, Tua, Love, Goff, Stafford, Baker, Daniel Jones, Geno, and then Deshaun Watson. He still does run. I actually think he's a better fantasy quarterback than he is a real-life quarterback. Like, that's going to be bet number 1 for me on Underdog, I think, for week 1. I'll have those come. I'm doing my rankings update, props for the week, and injury update on either Friday nights or Saturday mornings on Mayo Media Network if everyone is looking. So go sub to that right now. But I always like his over rushing props because he runs a whole lot. Since he can't pass, he tends to run more now.
He does, which is the upside. You know what he is? He's Tyrod Taylor at this point.
Oh, ouch. It's the $50 million Tyrod Taylor.
The 15 points per game, lock it in every single time. I know what you're doing, and I feel like you're just baiting me into this one. No, I don't care that he's going to run one in, potentially two. There's no way I'm ranking Sam Darnold that high.
Oh, screw that. Sam Darnold is having the Jameis season. He's going to throw 30 touchdowns and 30 picks, and I'm all here
Okay,
for it.
if that's the case, sign me up for that, please.
Why wouldn't he? That's why I have Justin Jefferson as the number 1 receiver overall. Like, it's McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
For me, like, there's going to be one play that they run. There's people in my face. I'm going to throw it up that way to the guy who's really good. And Jefferson's good enough that he's going to carry Darnold along with him. And it's a great matchup, Jake.
Okay, that's where I was going to go with it.
Oh,
It's
God,
like,
don't
I will give you this.
shit about the Giants. They fucking suck.
No. I was going to say, you are 100% right. This is a great matchup. The Giants' pass defense, abysmal. Emory Hunt texted me from camp. I mean, like, man, their number 2 in Banks is really good, but their 1 should be a 2. Like, he should not be playing 1. He's like, everybody on this secondary and the safeties is like a step down. It's like the next level. They're missing the top level. And that's how bad things were going to be on them for stopping the pass this year. And I trust Emory a hell of a lot. I would argue the best scout in the business, but he's out there firsthand. Makes me concerned for the Giants defense if I still cared about them as a team. But what I love in fantasy is thumbs up. My only concern was going to say, at least their front is beyond worrisome, but that's for Sam Darnold running one in. So if you're not even arguing for Sam Darnold running one in and you're just arguing for Sam Darnold to throw 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks or something like that, which I don't even think he'll get 2 picks against the Giants, sign me up for that. I just wouldn't play him in front of Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, and Love, and even Goff. If you want to put him at 16 or 15.
10, maybe 1.
I don't have no. Not doing it.
Love Sammy Scrambles this week.
I knew you were going to. I was looking for him as soon as I saw the list.
As someone who picked up, streamed, and played Nick Mullins every single week to great effect last year, Darnold's the better.
Except for that 1 week.
Except 1 week. But he was throwing like 450 yards and 3 touchdowns and 3 picks. It's like, this is the Sam Darnold offense.
What do you want to do for our dollar bet this year? Sam Darnold versus who?
Well, he's got to stay the starter. That's always the problem, because if it ends up 10 touchdowns and 30 picks, he's probably going to get benched. But
points per game. Here, I'll give you points per game. Sam Darnold versus. Will you take Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I would.
No, actually, I don't like that one. I'm backing off that one.
Oh, I said yes too quickly, did I?
No, I even thought about it in my mind. I'm like, that one's too risky because Trevor Lawrence might just be who he is at 17 points per game. Caleb, the rookie. I'll take Caleb Williams, the rookie, over Sam Darnold points per game.
Now, because I have Caleb Williams ranked higher than him already. I like Caleb Williams more.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, sure. I'll go Darnold over Love for the season.
Oh, here, I'll give you one more. Jared Goff before the last 3 weeks of the season. I get to cut it off the final 3 weeks of the season.
I just Goff just reeks of Kirk Cousins this year, where he's probably going to end up being like 9th in points per game, but he's perpetually going to be between the 8th and 13th best quarterback every single week.
Yeah.
Whereas Darnold, I can see, some really bad weeks are coming, but I do think that in good matchups, you do want to play him.
Well, then let's do the Love Darnold points per game.
Love versus Darnold. Book it. Defenses. You ready for this?
Yes. For number 10.
My number 1 defense of week 1 is the New Orleans Saints. Then I have the Bengals, Bucks, Vikings, Niners, Giants, Bears, Titans, Jets, Seahawks. Those are the top 10. Then I'm into the Falcons, Bills, Dolphins, Texans, Steelers, Browns, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers, Vegas at number 20, and then you can see the rest of the list later on when you subscribe to the newsletter. Just go click on the link for the rankings. It's week 1. You know that if there's one thing I know how to rank, Jake, it's defenses.
You do, and that's what I said. I kind of had a feeling you would be on it, but I was looking for the Seahawks. I would actually even consider the Seahawks a little bit higher. I think they're great if you missed on a big defense and you want a first 2-week streamer. Get Seahawks against Denver and the Patriots out of the gate. I think they're going to be really interesting, and I'm not going to argue that much with the rest of your list. The only one that gives me hesitation, and I know why, if you want to explain why. The Buccaneers. I'm concerned that Jaden Daniels is going to just destroy them, mostly because of the Buccaneers defense, but I know Jaden Daniels, because of also rushing, has the potential for turnovers.
Turnovers and sacks as well. Like, if he is not able to hit those outside lanes, he's going to have some big plays. He's going to get to the outside and make people look foolish, but you have that turnover potential, especially in the first game. And I think that people really do underrate the step from both college to preseason to actual game time, where if there's a way to pick on some of these rookies early, that's where I would want to go to. So they are maybe I have them overranked at number 3, but they would be the streamer defense that I would be looking at. It's funny because Bo Nix would kind of be the other way because of the Peyton offense, where it's like safety first, that I just don't envision a ton of turnovers from him. There's too many very simple passes to running backs or short routes. Like even look at Russ last year. Russ didn't really turn the ball over all that much.
No, and that's a fair argument. I think part of it will come down to what you're scoring. If you're still using the antiquated scoring, then your argument's actually right. Seahawks might be fair at 10 and even arguably too high. If you've kind of changed things up and there's a limit, you get points for limited yards, 3 and outs, stuff like that, then you could actually argue
most people are not playing with those rules.
It's been a little influx. I'm talking to your 10% of your population.
No, you're not talking to 10%. You're talking to 0.10%.
Wow. I like you guys better than Pat does, everybody.
Either way, I'm not looking for teams trying to pitch a shutout here. I'm looking for teams trying to score fantasy points.
Sure.
And I think that's the one thing. If there's any takeaway of how you should assess defenses this year, not you, Jake, the general you, in there, listening, watching, whatever right now, just try to find teams that are going to face pass attempts, that have a good pressure rate. They're going to face a ton of passing attempts. I don't give a fuck how many points that they give up. I just want opportunities for sacks, pressures, turnovers, and pick sixes. That's where fantasy points come from.
100%.
All right.
So where do you have the Cowboys? Oh, you have the Cowboys low.
I do have the Cowboys.
Yeah,
low.
they're going to run a lot.
That's the whole thing.
yeah,
Like, I see
so.
both those teams running
Yeah.
a ton. Like, low scoring.
Yeah.
Like, that'll be like, oh, yeah, they only gave up 9 points. Like, yeah, they scored 3 fantasy points. Thanks. They faced 38 rushing attempts.
That's certainly fair. I can't, because you usually ask me the question, and I was looking ahead to see if like there's any like, hey, is there anybody you think should be on the list? And no, not really, honestly. You know what? Where are they? I take a flyer on the Raiders.
I am at 20. I feel like
I put them a
the
little bit
Chargers
higher.
are just going to run.
I don't think they'll run that much.
I think they'll run a lot. And I think you can run on them.
They will, more than normally, but I still think you're going to have Justin Herbert dropping back, and he's still trying to find a rapport because of, one, his own missed time with his injury. Is the plantar fasciitis still bothering him? And as much as I can like Josh Palmer as a sleeper, there are just question marks galore where like that defense, because of their front, could force Justin Herbert into throwing uncomfortable throws, which lead to a pick or two.
That will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Week 1 rankings. If you missed the AFC win totals, the NFC win totals, the DraftKings strategy show, our final update for the season-long draft rankings, the best props out there, that is all up on Mayo Media Network right now. The rankings are down in the description. Code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy right now. Get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Plus, there's a Travis Kelce free square on the go right now. So just keep rolling that money through and keep on winning in week 1 and join the Pick'em League. $25,000 of bonus money I'm giving to you that I stole from Underdog. I'm Robin Hooding it all to you people down there, but you got to play in the season-long Pick'em competition. The entry is down in the description right now, along with all the rules, so please go subscribe to that and leave a rating and review on the podcast. You do that on Apple and Spotify, you're in a draw for $500 cash. We're just giving away money, Jake.
And I would like to win some of that for a change. I keep failing at your contests.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't let you win anyway. I'm sorry. I feel like people would think it was rigged.
Yeah, this is like the subtitle at the bottom. Employees of the, I'm not an employee, but a longtime employee-ish. What's the like acquaintance? Yeah, what's the acquaintance version of being an employee? Like, because you have friends and acquaintances. I'm the acquaintance version of being an employee.
Yeah, I guess maybe you could be eligible to win. If I draw your name, Jake, then I will say that you are the winner. How about that? But I hope it's not you. I hope
And then
it's
I'll give
someone
it
out
away.
there who does do the. Yeah, then you can do a giveaway for it.
There you go.
All
That's
right.
how it works.
The rankings are down in the description. Smash the like. We will be back soon enough with more Week 1 content on Mayo Media Network. So please sub now. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!